I am Jason Hunter, and everything in my life changed in an instant. The first feeling I had when I walked into the house after my long business trip in Europe was a strange silence. My house, the home I had worked so hard to build and protect over the years, now felt like a stranger's place. Emily wasn't home. This feeling I had never experienced before. My footsteps echoed in the silence, as if everything around me was staring at me, waiting for something to happen. I called her name instinctively as I walked through the living room, but there was no answer. All I received was the silence of the room and the dim light from the lamp in the corner. I looked around, no sign of Emily being here. I paused for a moment, took out my phone and called her, but received no response. An unsettling feeling crept up in my chest. Something was wrong. Unable to wait any longer, I decided to go up to her office. I didn't want to think about what could be happening, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was being hidden in this house. When I entered the room, my eyes stopped on Emily's phone, left on the desk. The screen lit up with a new message. I opened the phone, just a quick glance at the message. Then my heart jolted when I saw that name. Aaron Blake. A name I had never heard before. I had never heard Emily mention this person. My heart raced as if it recognized something terrible. Without thinking, I opened the message and read, "Baby, I miss you. I'm waiting for you to come home." A fire of anger surged within me, but I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. Another call came in from the same number. I looked at her contacts. There was no suspicious name, just Aaron Blake. Who was this person? Confusion, anger, and disappointment seized me. Had I been wrong, or had Emily been hiding something from me? I couldn't let this go on any longer. I had sworn I would always trust her. But now what? I felt like I was standing on the edge of a truth I didn't want to face. Could I deny it? Or do I need to do something to uncover the truth? I decided I couldn't keep bearing this feeling. I couldn't stay silent any longer. I had to do something. I couldn't let this doubt eat away at my mind. The next day, I began following Emily. She went to work as usual, but I started paying more attention to her behavior. I remembered the times before, when she would always smile and take care of me in every little way, but this time, there was a noticeable difference in how she looked at me. Her eyes avoided mine whenever I asked about the small details of daily life, especially when I asked about Aaron. That day after she went to work, I began my surveillance. I knew I was doing something I shouldn't, but I couldn't ignore the doubt in my heart. After she left the house, I made sure to keep my distance, trying not to let her realize I was following her. The whole morning, I only saw her stop by a few places, as usual. But by the afternoon, I caught sight of something that took my breath away. Aaron Blake appeared at a cafe near our home. He looked very handsome, unlike the people I usually saw around Emily. They sat together at the table, laughing and chatting as if there was nothing to worry about. Then they walked out together, hand in hand, as if there was nothing to hide. At that moment, it felt like the entire world was collapsing beneath my feet. It was the moment I understood that everything I had trusted had been shattered. All the emotions inside me began flooding over: anger, disappointment, pain, and disbelief. When I returned home, I could no longer stay silent. I couldn't wait until Emily got home to explain. I didn't want to hear her excuses anymore. I wanted the truth immediately. The two of us had lived in this house for far too long to hide anything. When Emily got home, I confronted her. She was surprised to see me waiting in the living room. "Hi, you're back. Are you tired?" Emily asked, still trying to keep her composure, but I could sense the panic in her eyes. "You can still pretend like that?" I cut her off, my voice filled with rage. "What are you going to say now, Emily?" She froze, her eyes wide open, then slowly turned red. "Jason, I'm sorry. I don't know how to explain." But I didn't give her a chance to say more. "You don't need to explain anything. I've seen everything, Emily." I couldn't keep my calm anymore. Everything rushed back in my mind, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. She started crying, but I didn't feel any pity for her. Her tears couldn't make me change my mind. "I've seen it all, Emily. You went out, met him, kissed him in front of me, and you still want me to believe you?" Emily remained silent, not saying a word. Her eyes seemed to be fighting with a truth she couldn't escape. We both stood in silence for a long moment, and I knew I couldn't stop here. I had to know more of the truth. I had to understand how she had betrayed me. I had to answer the question, why? Who is he? I asked, my voice rough. He, he's just a friend, Jason. I didn't think things would go this far, she stammered. But I no longer believed her words. Everything was clear, and once the truth was revealed, there was only one feeling left. I had to do something. I needed to take revenge. I needed to feel the power return to my hands. The feeling of being unable to breathe overwhelmed me. I felt like a wolf trapped, with no choice but to attack. Emily sat silently, tears falling like rain, but I no longer felt any sympathy. The sense of betrayal was too heavy. It had consumed everything inside me. I couldn't endure this deception anymore. Everything I had once thought was mine was now torn apart. I felt like a man left alone in the storm, unable to find a way out. But I couldn't just keep suffering like this. Jason, I'm sorry. You can't imagine how much I've hurt you. You're the only one I love, Emily whispered, but her voice no longer had the power to convince. I listened to those words, but all I felt was emptiness, as if those words no longer meant anything. She could apologize 1,000 times, but that wouldn't change the truth. I turned away, not wanting to look at her anymore. Every time I looked into Emily's eyes, it felt like a knife cutting through my heart. She hadn't just betrayed me. She had destroyed everything I had built. She had done something too big, too painful, and now I had only one thought: revenge. As soon as Emily turned away to wipe her tears, I took out my phone and called Peter Howard. Peter was an old friend of mine, someone who had helped me a lot in my career. But not only that, he also had connections in the business world that weren't entirely above board. Peter was someone who knew how to solve complex problems without always following the rules. I knew that if I wanted to make Aaron and Emily pay, Peter would be the only one who could help me. When the phone rang, I didn't let Peter speak much. Peter, I need you to help me take revenge, I said immediately, my voice cold. He didn't ask many questions, just said briefly, "Go ahead, I'll take care of it." The next day, everything started moving quickly. Peter had contacted a few of his friends, people I didn't want to know too much about, but I knew they could make things change in an instant. Aaron would have to pay for what he had done. It was a perfect, calculated plan. I didn't want simple revenge. No, I wanted him to lose everything: his job, his money, and of course, his reputation. I wanted him to be torn apart the way I had been. I didn't need to kill him, but I wanted his life to never continue as it had before. A few days later, I received a notification from Peter that the plan was starting to show results. Aaron was in deep trouble at work, and the deals he had signed were slowly falling apart. His whole family was getting caught up in scandals I never could have imagined. Peter had created a network of information and underground connections that made everything irreversible. When I heard the news, I didn't feel the joy or satisfaction I had imagined. On the contrary, an emptiness began to overtake me. What had I done? I was destroying someone else's life just because of the betrayal I had endured. This made me feel more tortured than ever. That evening, as I sat alone in my office, a strange feeling washed over me. I thought back to the earlier years when Emily and I were in love, when we were partners full of affection. We had gone through so many trials together, shared so many joys and sorrows, yet now all that was left was hatred and pain. I realized something. No matter what I did, I couldn't get back what I had lost. I couldn't change the past, and I couldn't let revenge take over my life forever. I needed to stop. The next day, when I met Peter to discuss the next steps, I made my decision. "Stop it," I told him, my voice firm. Peter looked at me with surprise, but he didn't say anything. Surely he thought I had changed my mind out of weakness. But the truth was, I couldn't live in this anger anymore. Let him face the consequences of what he's done, but I don't need to be the one to destroy his life completely. When I returned home, this time alone, I no longer felt anger. I knew that, no matter how painful it was, continuing to hate would give me nothing but emptiness. Although Emily had hurt me, I couldn't live in the shadow of revenge. When I walked into the bedroom, Emily was waiting for me. She was still tearful, but I no longer felt pity. I didn't want to argue anymore, didn't want to hear any more apologies. "I've made my decision," I said softly. "We can't continue like this. I can't live with this anger. But I also can't live with the person who betrayed me." Emily looked at me, her eyes seeming to want to say something, but she remained silent. I knew that both of us were standing at a crossroads where everything would change forever. Though I had decided to let go of revenge, deep down I knew I still couldn't escape that pain. The days after I said goodbye to Emily, I continued to live in sadness and torment. I no longer saw her as a wife, but as a traitor. But what truly hurt me wasn't her betrayal, it was the feeling that I couldn't control my own life. I had once prided myself on my career, my family, but now I saw everything slipping out of my grasp. That feeling of loss was something that couldn't be erased. A month later, everything seemed to settle down. I continued working, although I no longer felt the joy I once did. The company was still thriving, but I couldn't focus on my work as I used to. Every decision, every step I took in the company carried with it a gloom I couldn't shake off. I couldn't find happiness and success anymore. Everything felt dull. Then one evening, while I was in my office, I received a strange call. At first I considered not answering, since it was from an unknown number, but the name Aaron Blake appeared in my mind. I knew I couldn't avoid it forever. I answered the call. "Jason, this is Aaron." His voice was cold, but I could sense the tension in it. "I need to talk to you." I didn't say anything, just listened. Unconsciously, I felt a wave of anger rise within me, but then I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "What do you want to say?" I spoke coldly, though inside my heart was aching. "I know what you can do to save your career, but you have to listen to me." Aaron continued, his voice deeper, as if he was hiding something I couldn't predict. "Don't joke with me, Aaron." I was tense, knowing this call wasn't a coincidence. "I don't have anything left to say to you, but you're standing on the edge. What happens to your company will affect everything, not just me." "Don't you think so?" Aaron said, and I could feel the worry in his voice. That was when I started to realize that not only Emily, but now Aaron had become a part of my downfall. The truth he spoke made me snap to attention. It wasn't over yet. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about the call from the night before. I had made up my mind. I couldn't let myself continue like this. I had to confront Aaron, and if necessary, I would face Emily again. I took a cab to a small cafe where Aaron had asked to meet me. When I walked in, I saw him sitting there, with a pensive look. He didn't look like the person I had imagined. Now there was a strange loneliness in his eyes, as if he was standing between two choices and didn't know where to go. "I don't need to do anything anymore, do I?" I said, my voice still cold. But I felt something had changed within me. "I don't care about my career, and I don't care about you and Emily anymore." Aaron looked at me, his eyes suddenly lighting up. "You don't understand. I'm not trying to force you to do anything. I'm trying to save you. If you don't help me, everything will fall apart. You want to lose your company?" I sat down across from him, feeling my heart pounding. "Are you threatening me?" I asked, but I knew his words weren't threats. They were the truth. "No, Jason, I'm warning you. If you don't act now, everything will collapse, and then you'll have nothing. Your whole family will fall apart, and your company will collapse." His words hit me like a slap in the face. I couldn't believe it, but I also couldn't deny that what he was saying had merit. I couldn't let everything I had built be destroyed just because of one mistake. That evening, when I returned home, I couldn't focus on anything. The thoughts of what Aaron had just said kept haunting me. Inside, anger and regret began to overpower each other. I needed to act. But I also knew this action would make everything even more complicated. I walked into the bedroom and saw Emily sitting there, her eyes swollen with tears. But this time, I didn't feel anything anymore. I had made up my mind. "We can't go on like this, Emily," I said softly, with no forgiveness in my voice. "It's over." Emily looked at me, but there was no response. She knew, I knew, that no matter how much I loved her, I couldn't bear it anymore. I had given her too many chances, and this time, I couldn't go back. A week later, when I met Aaron once again, I made my final decision. I had no other choice but to join him in trying to save what was left of the company. Our calls became more and more tense, but I couldn't go back anymore. It was too late. I began to see more clearly the complexity of everything. Revenge couldn't erase the pain, and forgiveness couldn't heal such deep wounds. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I had to act before everything collapsed entirely. And one thing I was sure of, no one could save me from myself.